You are performing this repair at your own risk. You cannot be held responsible for any injuries to yourself or damage done to your device while attempting a repair. To complete this repair, we'll need a pentalobe screwdriver, small Phillips screwdriver, plastic pry tool, and a suction cup. We'll begin by powering down our device. For the next step, we'll need our pentalobe screwdriver. And we have two pentalobe screws on opposite sides of the sink port that will need to be removed. These two screws should be set aside in a safe place so that we don't lose them for reassembly. Now we're going to apply a suction cup to the lower portion of the screen. If your screen is badly cracked, you'll need to apply packaging tape over the surface of the screen in order to get a solid suction. We're going to be prying up the screen at an angle as there are 3 cables attached up top. Once the screen starts to come away from the casing, we'll then use our plastic pry tool and run it along the sides to free the remainder of the screen. You'll find that you have to apply quite a bit of an upward force in order to initially free the screen from the casing. You should keep your hands cupped around the sides so that the screen doesn't fly off too fast. It'll take some time and a few tries before the screen actually comes free from the casing, so be patient during this process. And at last, we've freed the screen from the casing on the bottom right portion of the device. We now have a gap where we can insert our plastic pry tool and slide it around the remainder of the casing to free the screen entirely. The screen is now loose from its snug fit and we can open it up at an angle. But do be aware there are still 3 cables attached up top, so we can't pull the screen off just yet. The metal plate seen at the top right is held in with 3 screws. This is covering the 3 cables that we need to remove in order to separate the front assembly entirely. So we'll need to grab our small Phillips screwdriver and remove all 3 of these screws. Set these screws aside at a safe place and also make note of where they go around the metal plate. Now for some reason the final screw doesn't attach to our magnetic screwdriver. This may be a manufacturing defect or it may be the same across all iPhone 5s. So what we'll do is we'll unscrew it completely and leave it inside the metal plate while we remove it. You can see how the metal plate is coming up at an angle. That's because there are still metal tabs that extend from the left side and reach underneath the board. So we'll have to slide it out from underneath. We'll now use our plastic pry tool to gently unplug 3 cables. They should be unplugged in the order shown here. With all three cables unplugged, the front assembly is completely separated from the rest of the device. Now all we have left to do is to plug in our new front assembly and reassemble the device. The replacement front assembly includes the home button, the earpiece, proximity sensor, as well as front-facing camera. This will make for the easiest possible repair. Otherwise, you'll have to further dissect the screen assembly in order to complete this repair. We'll now line up our new screen and plug in the three cables in the opposite order that we took them out. You should be very gentle when plugging in each cable. Once it's located at the right position over the port, it should plug in without much force. If you find yourself having to push too hard, chances are it's in the wrong position. If you push too hard on the cable when it's in the wrong position while trying to plug it in, you can damage the port and make your device beyond repair. Next, we'll reinstall the metal plate covering these cables. Remember to first tuck the left side underneath the board, and then we can flatten the rest of the plate. Make sure the holes in the metal plate line up with the screw holes. If you don't tuck the left side in properly, it'll be raised slightly, and you can risk damaging your replacement screen when you go to close it. Since this final screw isn't attaching to our magnetic screwdriver, we'll drop it in place and slide it over its screw hole. Before we close our screen entirely, we'll flip it over and power up the device to be sure everything is working properly. Do note that the home button will not function at this point. Until the screen is closed entirely, the two contacts on the screen assembly near the home button will not touch the two contacts on the inside of the phone, which activate the home button. Our display and touchscreen are working as expected, so we can go ahead and power off our phone and continue with reassembly. There's a lip on the screen that tucks underneath the frame on the top part, so that will be our first step. Be sure to tuck this lip inside the frame and ensure that the top portion is flush. We'll continue with folding our screen down, but do not press too hard. You'll have to evenly work your way up towards the top and smoothly press the screen flush as you do so. If you push from the bottom immediately, chances are your screen will crack. Work your way around the perimeter of the phone and be sure that the screen is flush on all sides. With the screen flush on all sides, we're now ready to reinsert the two pentalobe screws at the bottom on opposite sides of the sync port. Check us out on the web at gadgetmenders.com, where we offer a full line of parts and repair services.